Now, this is like if someone stands you up at the front of the room and they're like, I need you to say in front of me that like you're not going to go, hurt innocent people. Okay, well, the fact that you're being asked that is an indictment of you. And the fact that you would take that question seriously suggests that you do need to answer that question because we can't really be sure about you. So there's a strong element of a humiliation ritual to this, which if you're trying to abuse people, which is effectively what happens with bad religions and ideologies, is you're just kind of abusing your congregation. Well, you want to see them prove that they're willing to humiliate themselves for you. They're willing to put up with any kind of treatment.
James Lindsay makes a compelling argument that it's Gnosticism, which it boils down to kind of like the existing religions that people are familiar with, like your Abrahamic religions. Those are actually the devil, and that there is a God behind them that's hidden from everybody, and that God is actually imprisoned in reality. So the gods that we know of as Abrahamic religion gods, they have imprisoned the real God in reality, and the God is in everyone. So you hear people say, well, there's a lot of times where people will make remarks that they don't realize are actually like a cult or Gnostic. But when people say God's in everybody, I don't think there's anything that's Catholic that says that God is actually in everyone. But the Gnostic religion kind of, and this is not all religion, Gnostic,
like the Gnosis, like or Gnostic heresy almost.
It's called the heresy.
Yeah, important to say that.
So it's like, it's as if God is in everybody, and the ideal is to have everybody realize that they are God, and then once everyone realizes that they are God, that's the beginning of history or the end of history, depending on the way that you are describing it. But yeah, it's people believing that they are God, and they want to transcend their bodies to become one with God or whatever, and that's part of why the trans community, transhumanism, kind of mixes into it too, because they believe that their bodies are prisons. And if you talk to people on the left, a lot of times when they're describing the way that they have their outlook on life, is they look at the world being unfair and their body's a prison and they're not really free. And you hear that through the left when it comes to like, oh, if you have to go to work, then you're not really free. That's articulating that they believe that their own body and maintaining their own body is actually imprisoning them, and they can't be their true selves because they have to go to work. And these are themes that you hear the left talk, and I'm talking about the far left, but these are things that you hear the left talking about frequently, and it lines up with the idea that it's a Gnostic ideology or a Gnostic heresy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. There's a couple things there, and of course, like we believe as Christians that like every human has God's image and likeness on them.
Yeah, but that's not saying you're God. But
there's not saying not exactly. That's basically what the devil says. I am God. That was his claim. Now, I also think that you touched on a very important point, which is that in Gnosticism, there's this kind of idea that like the flesh itself is evil, and that you can transcend it in the sense that your mind can be something other than what your body is, and it's superior. And the internal state of someone who says they're a woman when they're clearly a man must be honored above the actual physical reality, because not only do the two not conform, but the quote unquote spiritual reality is higher. Gnosticism is a little bit difficult to pin down, just because it's similar to the New Age movement in the sense that there's different kinds of varieties, but generally, I think you're right that there's this heavy element of Gnostic spiritualism to all of it.
Yeah, this gnosis, this case of gnosis of like your only your knowledge and only your truth is the truth that matters, not objective truth. There is no objective reality. Yeah, and I think that's where I see it as well. That's why I think is it's Gnostic in that sense.
And one of the things that I have heard again, Lindsay was talking about this, is that a lot of the Gnostic cults that have existed in history actually kind of like mask themselves onto existing religions. So they'll say to Christians or whatever, they say, well, God, you're getting this information from your priest or whatever, but I know this other part that is actually your religion, but it's a secret part, and that's where the gnosis comes from. They know the
esoteric knowledge.
Exactly. The esoteric knowledge, the secret hidden religion, and it's actually your religion, but your whole religion, not the piece that's only been hit, because you've only been given a little piece because the people that are in power want to stay in power, so they only give you the little bit. I have the gnosis, I have the knowledge to give to you, and it's done throughout history. Gnostics have used that type of argument to infiltrate religions that exist and kind of turn it like a symbiotic religion. No, not a symbiote, like a parasite, I guess.
They'll do the same thing. I have the real science. Science actually says biological sex doesn't exist.